let's talk about the revisions to paragraph 14 of the purchase agreement. And these revisions, as I mentioned in the introductory video, were as a result of these forms hitting the street and sort of being road tested, and also a result of some feedback from members. And we think we have addressed some of the issues that were created when we launched this revised form back in July of 2022. So I'm going to talk first about paragraph 14. The first thing you'll notice that we added back into paragraph 14, or added to paragraph 14A, is the word septic. And you'll see why we did that here in just a minute. But also I would remind you that paragraph 14 in the inspection process, previous to the July revisions, as you recall, the inspections were focused only on the primary dwelling, unless there were additional inspections. But the primary inspection process only included the primary dwelling. And in this revision that we launched back in July, we included everything within the property, capital P property. And you know, on page 1 of the purchase agreement, where we talk about the property by its address or its tax ID number or some other description, that we define that as the capital P property. So in this case, the noteworthy thing is that the inspection process includes everything within the 4 corners of the property, which includes septic. And you'll see why we added septic back in here in just a minute. And so we also added appurtenant residential non-commercial docks. And we did this because the folks at the lake felt it important that the inspection process include those things that may not be within the 4 corners of the property, but are important to the transaction. And so we added this as a suggestion by one of the lake folks, some of the lake folks. And so this would include not only Smith Mountain Lake, but any other lake similar. We also, you'll notice, made some fine tuning and some changes to the contractor discussion about who is authorized and properly credentialed to do the inspections on the property. And we added this language in here as required by the Commonwealth of Virginia. And the main reason we did this, and y'all probably know that there is no requirement in Virginia for those individuals doing termite inspections to be licensed. In other words, licensure is required to apply chemicals and to treat, but no license is required to do the actual termite inspection. So when we have language in here that includes a suggestion of wood destroying organisms, we felt it important to point out that if the Commonwealth of Virginia requires a license, then you've got to be licensed to do an inspection. But if they don't require a license, you get the picture. So, and remember that all of these items that are being pointed out in the purchase agreement are just merely suggestions. It sort of tees up what a purchaser may want to consider to have evaluated in the property. So the next change is probably one of the more important ones, and you'll see here that we have stricken the entirety of this section right here, which had to do with the purchaser choosing what degree of septic inspection that they might want to have. And this just led to a lot of confusion. So we are getting rid of that, which then was the reason we added septic back up in here in those suggested inspections. And we also got rid of this provision here, which talked about whether or not the purchaser's obligations are subject to septic inspection. So then we changed this paragraph right here. I got a lot of red marks going on here. But any septic inspection will be conducted, and we talk about what the credentials are for any person conducting a septic inspection. And then we include what a septic inspection includes or is limited to. So it's a visual inspection of the drain field or septic tank, and it may include pumping of the contents. What's important also to note is purchaser will give seller advance notice of the inspection. We got a little hung up on the definition of advance notice, but that's going to be a sort of a transactional type issue. But Certainly pulling up on the property with a backhoe without any notice would not meet the definition of advance notice. And so we also got rid of this provision here where it talks about purchaser being obligated and liable for any damage caused as a result of the inspection, because we addressed that right here. So we didn't feel like it was necessary to be redundant. And that is generally the changes that we've made to paragraph 14. And again, the biggest change is the septic process. You'll also note that we added in these paragraphs right here. Talks about reasonable access by the seller must grant to the purchaser's folks, whether they're inspectors or engineers or contractors. It also compels the seller to have all utilities and systems and appliances in service for all these inspections. And then it goes into discussing what happens if the seller does not have these utilities in service, that the inspection deadline will be extended for that amount of time that we had to sit around and wait for the seller to get these things in their back in service. The only other change to the paragraph 14 was just striking this provision right here, including septic inspection if applicable, because that, as we've discussed, the septic may or may not be inspected, and the results will include, if the purchaser desires, any issues that they found regarding the septic. So the rest of paragraph 14B did not change, and you'll see that 14C, nothing else changed in paragraph 14. So that's it. That's paragraph 14. Thank you.